Suffolk Pod Show is produced and managed by podtalk.co.uk. I'm Mark Mason.
And I'm Susanna Hornby.
There's also cognitive response to music. You know, music triggers the brain in a way that no other kind of art or kind of, I don't know, nothing can touch in a way that music can. You know, when we listen to music, the whole brain is active. You know, if we're listening to language, if we had like electrodes on our head to study what's going on when we're listening to language, you'll see certain areas light up. When we listen to music, the whole brain lights up.
Episode 40. Susanna talks to Ray Travasso from Suffolk Music Therapy Services.
Ray is a qualified music therapist and is the co-founder of Suffolk Music Therapy Services. Welcome, Ray.
Hi, Susanna. It's lovely to be here with you.
Well, you're very welcome. Your work is extraordinary and it floors me, and we're really looking forward to hearing more about what you do and who you work with. But how did all this begin?
Well, so I've always been interested in music, you know, from a young age. Often people say, you know, when did you start? How old were you when you started playing the piano? Well, we had an old battered piano at home, and I don't know how old I was, but it was when I was tall enough to reach the keys, is what my mum says. Is when I started playing, and music's been really, really important in my life, my family life. We'd always have songs at home, you know, playing around the piano and singing around the piano. But you know, I sort of trained classically up to sort of grade 5 and was just doing the normal things most young people doing, playing the piano. And then I started to play some music at church, and that really got me interested in playing in groups. And the people in church, they were all Irish, so they loved Irish music. So I learned how to play along with them while I had to sort of work out what their fingers were doing on their guitars, and I'd work out chords, and then I'd work out, you know, slowly working out music, but realizing the power of music. But it all really sort of kicked off when I was in a band. We used to gig in London in the Camden scene in the sort of what must be sort of the late 1990s. We were every night we were in a some grotty pub somewhere, nowhere near like what it is at Stonham Barns, of course. But it was really, but it was really these grotty places. And we'd be rehearsing, and all we wanted to do was a record deal. And so to fund, you know, me being able to do this, I worked in a school in East London in Leytonstone, and I used to just, you know, help out. I helped out with in a school with some of the children were really in trouble, and I sort of set up a spare we had a spare classroom at the time. I don't know if you can ever have spare classrooms nowadays, but a spare classroom, and we just set it up it was only for the young people who were in trouble and who were troubled. And I said, look, I'll make a little music club. And what we found out was this small group of young people. I mean, some of them were involved in gangs, and they were really, you know, they were bullies, and they were just really, they used to cause this music department loads of trouble. But actually, and I wasn't a qualified teacher or anything, you know, but I was just an office junior at the school. I just said I'd offer to help with these young people, because to be honest, no one really knew what to do with these young people. And so we had this little club, and of course they were the most talented of I'd never seen young people this talented before. And so they were dancing, they were singing, they were writing their own songs, they were rapping. And I found that I took them to a local recording studio. They made their own album. We performed, the students performed at school. And of course, what happened was the teachers and the other children started to see them in a different way. And that was really positive for them. And they saw themselves in a different way. And it really made a difference to them. And I realized, you know, I was getting more out of seeing these young people get on stage, seeing how music changed them, than myself going on stage, to be honest. And that's when I thought, right, I need to find a job that will make a difference in music. And then came across music therapy, and that was and then I began the training. So that's what got me into it.
Wow, what a way to get into it! And at some point, you married and you set up. Yeah.
So then. So I did the training at a place called Nordoff Robbins, which is a music therapy centre in London. And they've got a few centres around the world. And so I trained with people from different countries. We had a Japanese music therapist, a Greek music therapist. And that was great, you know, hearing and finding out about different music from different cultures. And then I did the training, which is a master's. You have to have that to be a qualified therapist, and it's a state registered profession. So we're grouped with physiotherapists and speech and language therapists within like the NHS kind of system. And then it was all about trying to find a job, and I found a sort of 6-hour-a-week job at a children's hospice in Suffolk, and started working there, and loved it, absolutely loved it. And then, after a number of years, lots of, schools were starting to approach me and ask me, oh, could I work in the school? And I just didn't have the time, because I was also working at the adult hospice. And I kind of said, well, look, you know what, I'll help you get like a job description. We'll put together like a model of music therapy, how it would work for your schools, and put that all together for them. And said, look, I'll help you, interview if you wanted to, but and then I'll leave you guys to it. You can carry. And they said, no, we'd really like to get the music therapy from you. And then so I reluctantly actually sort of said yes. And then we sort of set up Suffolk Music Therapy Services. That was about 11, 12 years ago now. And all I can say is just grown and grown and grown. We don't advertise the work. We've never ever done that. We have a website and a Facebook page, but we don't go out to actively want the work to increase. We just respond to the work that we have, try to do the best that we can with the people we work with, and then if the word spreads, and now we've got a team of 14 therapists working all over East Anglia, as far as Chigwell in East London, all the way through to Lowestoft. We're working in Norfolk as well, Hertfordshire. We provided most of the special schools in Essex and Suffolk, but we also work at Sue Ryder in Ipswich. We're going to start working at Zest, which is part of St Elizabeth Hospice for young people. We do lots of work with elderly people in care homes, dementia work, and we're also providing at Ipswich Hospital and the children's wards. There's a lovely post that we've got going there. So there's all sorts of different things going on.
So I'm going to have to ask, you're going to have to tell us what you're doing and how does it all work? And tell us the magic of it.
Yeah, so it's really simple, okay? Basically, it all works down to this simple kind of belief, I suppose, that as music therapists, we believe that every single human being is musical. Everyone, and that we all have an innate response to music that is intact. It doesn't matter how old, how young, how impaired, what culture we're from, what our ability or disability is. We all have an innate response to music. We have tone in our voice that's unique to our own voices. We have muscle tone, even. We have a breathing rhythm. We have a heartbeat. We're musical people, and we respond to music without even thinking. When we listen to music in the car, we might be tapping our hand on the dashboard in time with the music, or tapping our foot. When we're running or something, you might be running in time with the music. Even when you hear babies crying sometimes in a church or somewhere, you actually realize it's actually in tune with the music. It's just a few octaves above. That we have this natural ability to connect with music without even thinking, and that forms the basis of our whole approach. And so then, as music therapists, we will look. There's a physical response to music. As I say, we move. Sometimes we move to music without thinking. That can be really useful. We've got movement problems, like cerebral palsy, or but we also are moved by music emotionally. Music brings, there's so many different types of music that has so many different emotions to them, with rock, rap, or country and western, and heartbreak, and all that happens to, and as individuals, we kind of, the emotional aspect of music is really important. All been moved by music at some point. We had that tingle down our spine, or when we've seen a great concert, we're just reminiscing about seeing, Ed Sheeran in Ipswich a couple of years ago, And so music has this emotional response, physical response. There's a social response to music. It brings people together. Thinking about all the things that you've been doing at Stonham Barns, music can bring people together, different people together. It can be a real force for that. But there's also cognitive response to music. Music triggers the brain in a way that no other kind of art or kind of, I don't know, nothing can touch in a way that music can. When we listen to music, the whole brain is active. If we're listening to language, if we had like electrodes on our head to study what's going on. When we're listening to language, you'll see that certain areas light up. When we listen to music, the whole brain lights up. All the neural pathways are triggered and are alive. Now, if you've got a brain injury, you've got autism, you've got a neurological condition, music can actually trigger some of these pathways that are affected. And so we see amazing things happening in music therapy because of what happens naturally in music. That's why suddenly, if we're working in a care home, working with people with dementia, maybe, could be early stage, maybe even late stage dementia, start playing the opening chords of a song, suddenly they get up, stand up, start dancing, singing the whole song. And you sort of think, hang on, but that individual, I can't even have a conversation with this individual. And yet somehow I can sing a song with them and they'll sing all the way through. Or working with, someone with a brain tumor, suddenly they might not be able to speak or string a sentence together. I worked with a lady who had she had a left-sided neglect. Part of her brain tumor meant that her whole left side was affected. She couldn't move her left arm. She couldn't move her left leg. She couldn't even see in her left eye. And so we found, I was trying to work out what kind of music she liked. She couldn't even speak in a sentence. She'd get stuck on a word. And then no one understood what she was trying to say. And found out that she loved singing in choirs. And she loved singing in church. So I started playing some old hymns. And then suddenly she started singing along with me. And she was even singing in harmony. It's just me playing at the piano, and this lady, Margaret, who sat next to me at the piano. And I just start to sing opening chords of this really simple, well-known hymn, and then just listen to see what happens as she starts to sing. And this is all about the power of music for a lady who couldn't speak.
That's just so moving. So tell us about how you work with children.
Yeah, so working with children is brilliant. I love it because children don't have any inhibitions.
No.
They don't say, "Oh, I can't play the piano," or my singing teacher told me I can't sing. Actually, children just naturally respond to music in a way. It's just so lovely to work with. So I'll work with babies who are newborn to toddlers, and we'll work all the way through. So, but actually, all of the time, the first thing for a therapist is to really understand and become aware of how the child is. What is the child doing? Are they responding? They're not responding. What do they like? Are they responding to high sounds, low pitch sounds? And then also, what are their needs? Have they got a speech delay, or have they got some movement difficulties? What's going on for them, sort of behaviourally? Do they have autism? Every individual with autism can't be treated the same way, but we need to work out what are the nuances, what are the differences for these children. What are they struggling with? What's making life difficult for them? And then finding a creative musical way to respond to that. So, for example, if it's a child who maybe it's about speech and they're not, actually we find they're not able to use words, well, we'll sing songs or find ways, or use instruments where you blow into to kind of start to encourage making sounds. And what we find is that, through doing that, just being really playful with the music, we start to see children will use sounds and words, and start to creep into the songs. And that's a wonderful way to use music to actually help with children's speech. It may be anxiety. We're now aware that children seem to be more anxious, or we're aware of it much more. And so, sometimes we work with children who are they're called self-mutes, so they just don't speak at all. But they might at school, but at home they might speak, but they don't at school. And so, finding ways to kind of really encourage that, and it's got to be fun. The music's got to be fun. It's got to be meaningful. We're not music producers and music teachers, so we're not trying to create perfect music. So if you were to hear a music therapy session, it wouldn't be all absolutely everything's correct, and everything's musically timed or everything in pitch. That's not what it's about. It's about being authentic and being meaningful, and about connecting. And through that's where the amazing things start to happen.
Yeah, I'm just imagining it. This last year or year and a half now, whilst we've been in this pandemic, must have been extremely challenging.
Yeah, I mean, like for everybody. I mean, we had, we've got about sort of 50 different contracts working in different organisations all over the place. And, I just remember in, was it early March 2020, I got a phone call from a mum saying, "Oh, can I cancel the session because of this COVID thing?" And then later on that day, got another phone call from a school saying, "Oh, we just think, and it, just suddenly everything went crash,
Yeah.
And we employ music therapists. We really believe in that. And I'm thinking, how are we going to, what are we going to do? All the work is just coming to an end. And actually, it was someone who we've been providing music therapy for at the Ipswich Hospital, someone who's been funding that, lovely lady called Anita Grant, suggested, why don't you use Zoom for music therapy? And we've always used Zoom, actually. We've been using it for the last sort of 5-6 years for a lot of our meetings, because our therapists are all over the place, and for our supervision meetings. So we were familiar with Zoom, but we never thought that we could use Zoom to actually do a music therapy session. And so we kind of said, okay, let's give it a go. And this is where the team came in. I mean, we've got an incredible team of really amazing musicians, but brilliant therapists as well. And we said, well, let's test it. Let's try it out. So they kind of worked in pairs. And we just tested, we recorded every single time we learned something new, just put it into the shared document, and we kept sharing, kept learning. And within a really short space of time, we had some phenomenal sort of examples of work. And then we're starting to get feedback from the parents saying, you know what? This is the first time I've actually seen my child do music therapy, because normally they're at school and we don't get to see them doing it. Yeah. And, we've started to get some referrals for music therapy just for online work. And in fact, now, as we're sort of starting to think about bringing the work back into face-to-face, which most of our work is now gone back to face-to-face, some of the work is continued online, because actually we feel like we can do that, and the families and the individuals want it. We're working with a great charity called Take Our Hand, which is a bereavement charity supporting young people who have lost a loved one, and we provide the music therapy for them, and it's all online. And so it's definitely opened up our world to some new ways of working. It's been hard. It's been really hard, and the therapists have had to work on their own, and there's been lots of challenges for that. And but they've been amazing, and say we've come through it. I mean, who knows? Who knows now? But that's where we're at.
Now, you mentioned your team, and like you said, you've been talking to each other on Zoom and learning and sharing and goodness knows what. But you do get together, if you can, every year to really have a sort out and a learning session.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So, because the team work in so many different places, we don't have like an office where we all sit together and have the time together with that. And so it's really, really important. And our therapists are working in some really difficult situations. And, they might be working with people who are dying, where there may be really extreme behavior. There could be lots of depression, lots of really difficult places to work. And so it's really important the therapists have the support and training, they're not just left on their own to do that work. It's really important. Like anything, the best, if you can really support your team, then that can make a real difference, because then that cascades onto the quality of their work and their sort of levels of meaningfulness and happiness and all of that. So we always have a day where we meet together at the beginning of the year, where we kind of get ourselves all organised and sorted, and then we have a day at the end of the year, and you know, we weren't able to do that last year for all the obvious reasons, and we're like, we'd really like to want to have a space where we can, you know, have a bit of distance if we need that, a really lovely venue where we can just have that time where we can really celebrate the work. It will be a no screen day. There's nothing, you know, we won't be on any screens. There'll be no Zoom or anything. It will just be purely about meeting together and sharing, reflecting over the year about what's gone really, really well. What do we need to learn from, so we can really improve the work in the future? But also we'll do something. We always do something musical together, and we've got a guy called Duncan Walsh Atkins, he's a professional musician who works for the TV and the stage at the West End, and he does lots of the improvising. You know, when you watch those comedy programs and they're improvising a song, and there's some guy sitting at the piano, that's probably him.
It's him.
And so we're trying to think, well, where can we go where we could have a really nice day? And then we came across Stonham Barns and the barn there, and got to meet David, who runs it, and who's a lovely guy, and he's enabled us to use the facility, and we had a little look, and it's just perfect, absolutely perfect. I think it's used for weddings and functions as well.
That's right.
But it's a great space for us to be able to be a team together, share music together, and have a really nice space to be there together.
Wonderful. Perfect. And I know David is very excited to have you. In fact, the whole team is. People listening will definitely want to be talking to you. How do they reach out to you?
Yeah, okay. So if you just do, we're called Suffolk Music Therapy Services. There, we've got a website, so just type in Suffolk Music Therapy Services and we'll pop up quite quickly. If you and we also have a Facebook page as well, and there's all sorts of things we put on there for everyone to access, you know. And you know, because music's great, so there's lots of ways of getting in touch. I've got an email which is ray@suffolkmusictherapyservices.co.uk, but you can find us quite easily by just typing in.
Thank you.
That'll be fine.
Oh, you've put a massive skip in my step today, Ray. Thank you so much. And we wish you all extremely well. Have a wonderful day at Stonham Barns Park. And
thank you. Thank you.
No, I'm just going to say what a lot of special people you are.
Oh, well, no, thank you. You know, we none of us feel like we're special. We're just doing our bit, just to help people, and we love a job. It's the best job in the world. So, but thank you to you and your team for enabling us to have this time together, because it means a lot to us as well. So thank you. You
are so welcome. Thank you. And one last thing, a special thank you to Stonham Barns Park for introducing us to Ray. Thanks for listening to the Suffolk Pod Show. Find us on Facebook, Twitter or Instagram, or you can visit our website, podtalk.co.uk. And here's our disclaimer.
The Suffolk Pod Show will not be held responsible for any omissions or errors in its podcast.
The Suffolk Pod Show is produced purely for entertainment purposes. Views and opinions are that of our own or that of our guests.